And we're live, as J.A. Dudley would say if he were here, but he's not here. Instead, you've got me, a shaggy bear. I need a haircut. What do you
But
think?
then you don't have the sexy swoop.
The swoop? We'll keep the sexy swoop.
Oh, we're just gonna cut
We'll
the
just
rest
trim
of it.
everything. Yeah, we'll just leave that.
You'll have
We'll
a
just
front
leave
mullet.
that. We'll shave everything else right off. It'll be good to go. Uh, allegedly. Hello, can you hear me? It says we're live now. 5 by 5, Nostradamus. Thank you. Good morning. It's the 28th of May, 2024, and we're going to do coffee time with Bear, which is like a brief, but a little bit more laid back. Okay, Bear. All right, good talk, everybody. Coffee mug for this morning is it's called A Game for Good Christians, and the coffee mug says on it, the righteous remaining sane through committed acts of faithful living in the face of unrelenting bullshit. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4. If you like the game or you're familiar with the game Cards Against Humanity, but you may be looking for a more biblical type game, I make no money from telling you this. It's called A Game for Good Christians. It's actually pretty fun. I have a set of it. You might check it out. Something to do when the world ends and you're sitting around by candlelight in your bug out location with nothing to do. Good morning. We're going to talk about Israel. We're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about Ukraine. We're going to talk about Taiwan. We're going to talk about a handful of other things as well. And you guys know the drill. Like 40% of y'all watch the show but aren't subscribed. Now, I realize that that's because some of y'all are watching this on your government issued device and therefore can't actually be subscribed to the Bear Man. But the rest of y'all are just passing the time in your mom's basement. And seeing as that's the case, you should probably hit the subscribe button, ring the little bell icon, comment for the YouTube algorithm, all of that. And of course, if you've been here for a hot minute, like many of y'all have, you know the drill. Share the show with somebody you love, please and thank you, because the YouTube algorithm is no friend of ours. Now, I've done a thing today. This live stream, I turned monetization on YouTube completely off, which means if you see a single advertisement at all, this is an experiment here, at all on the YouTube stream, whether it's live or as a video later, that proves that it's not me that's putting these advertisements in here, it's YouTube. And like I said, me and YouTube, we're not very good friends. The show is brought to you by the creator of the universe, Yahweh, your Elohim, the Lord, your God. You might have heard of him. Whether you believe in him or not, he believes in you. So maybe get your poop in a group and act right. It's brought to you by the fine people on Patreon. Link is in the description. And of course, a little company called Refuge Medical, for whom I am the chief shilling officer, mostly because I had the audacity to start this business in my barn 4 years ago. And now we're on 4 continents with 122 lives saved to date. I know, it's pretty cool. Bear Independent Brief, 29 May 24. Year's flying by. We're almost like halfway through the year.
I know.
It's ridiculous. Ridiculous, I tell you. Israel, you might have heard of them, that nation state over there that was codified by the Rothschilds et al. In the British Empire, approximately 1947 AD-ish. The Zionist movement. Israel is continuing to become more and more isolated in the world. The IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, continues its assault in Rafah with tanks after what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called a, quote, tragic error. The deadly airstrike on the camp for displaced people. Spain, Norway, and Ireland are the latest to recognize a Palestinian state, and Slovenia is expected to join the ranks. This is how you know it's getting serious. Slovenia is on your side, which now amounts to 146 countries calling for essentially a two-state solution. The problem with that, as I see it, is while the nation state of Israel is not the biblical Israel from Genesis 32, Israel being a person who was previously named Jacob, translated by King Jimmy as Jacob, even though there's no J in Hebrew, entirely different teaching point. This guy Jacob, he wrestled with God. Now remember, Moses was told, no man can see my face and live. So who was it that Jacob was wrestling with? That's called a Christophany, or the personage of Christ before the Gospels. Yeah, do some research on that. So Jacob wrestles with God made flesh and until daybreak. And God made flesh says to him, see, Jacob was good at wrestling, probably Greco-Roman. You know, he's got the singlet on with the headgear, right? And they're rolling around in the dirt on the banks of the river. And the personage of the Creator says, "Let me go." And Jacob says, "Not until you bless me." And he says, "All right, I'll bless you. You're no longer Jacob. You're no longer Jacob. You are now Yisrael, Israel, which means he who is striving with, he who is overcome with, and he who is ruling with Elohim, with God." That's the biblical Israel. And that's the model that all of us go through in our faith. First, we struggle with the Creator, and then we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And then we are restored to our Father's house, where we have an inheritance, which is to rule and subdue for provision, protection, and blessing, per Genesis chapter 2, the original ideal state of man. So that's the model of our relationship with the Father. And newsflash, if you believe in Messiah, if Jesus is your Christ, if he is Lord, if he is King, you are Romans 11 grafted into the tree of life, which is a biblical euphemism, a Hebrew idiom for Yisrael, Israel, the Father's chosen people. Not the nation state that belongs to the Jews who rejected Messiah. And I realize, see, this is the game that they play. They put a label on a thing that doesn't go along with what the thing is. So they took a piece of Canaan, the promised land. They named it Israel, and they go, "Ha! Here's a land for the Yahudim, for the Jews." Bro, the Jews are only one of 12 tribes. So you can be Jew and be a Hebrew, but just because you're a Hebrew doesn't mean you're a Jew. Just because you're part of the tree of life doesn't mean you're a Jew. Correct. But it's a huge rabbit hole. My point is, the nation state over there, Yisrael, Israel, is not the biblical Israel. Okay? Just so we're on the same page. But you know it's getting serious when Slovenia has decided that we need a two-state solution. My point in all of this is that Israel and Palestine derived from Philistine, which is Philistine, which you might have heard of the Philistines. They had a champion. His name was Goliath. He was a big, tall guy, right? And he was taunting the Israelites under King Saul, the first king of Israel, which Yah's people are not supposed to have kings. They're supposed to be kings. The prophet Shemuel said, "Hey, I don't want to make you guys a king. If I make you guys a king," did you know you're going to have Bible study with Bear this morning? Yeah, you're welcome. He said, "I don't want to make you guys a king. You're not supposed to have kings." And they said, "But the nations have kings. We want a king too." Because previously they were under a system of judges. You might have heard of one of them, Samson, Shimshon, big buff dude, killed 1,000 Philistines with the jawbone of an ass. Just beat them to death until there was a pile of bodies laying around. Yeah, and they said, "We want a king." And the prophet Samuel said, "I'll make you a king, but if I do, understand, he's going to take your sons to war. He's going to take your daughters and he's going to put them in his palace. He's going to use your daughters. He's going to take the best of your livestock, the best of your grain, the best of your wine, the best of your oil. He's going to take from you if he's king." And they said, "Yeah, that sounds good. We want a king. We want a king just like the rest of the nations." And so the first king, Saul, or Shaul, was set up. And Shaul finds himself in this battle against the Philistines. And this giant of a man named Goliath, he wasn't actually a man, he descended from fallen angels, Genesis 6, verse 4, is taunting the Israelites. And there's a dude named Jesse, Yishai. He's got 7 sons. His youngest son was a guy named David, ruddy little dude, tiny fella. David shows up, he goes, "Nice giant, bro," throws a rock, hits him right in the forehead, and everybody thinks that it's the rock that killed Goliath. It's not. Go back and read that. The rock knocks Goliath on his ass. Then David picks up Goliath's own sword and lops his head off with it, and then holds Goliath's head up to all the Philistines to see, to essentially say, who else wants some? And then the Philistines turn and run. Philistine is where we get Palestine from. These people haven't gotten along for 3,000 years. They're not all of a sudden going to start getting along now. If we say, hey, your border's here and your border's here, cool. That has already been tried. Yeah, by the creator of the universe. He gave them some rules to live by. They didn't live by it. Didn't work out. So if the Father, the creator of the universe, could give them some rules and some boundaries, and they didn't follow it, is it not just hubris of man to think that we could give them some rules and some boundaries and it'll all go well? My guess is it's not going to go well, because they have a deep-seated hatred for one another that's embedded in their mitochondrial DNA over hundreds of generations of that is my enemy forever and a day. And the person who fixes that, by the way, the person who fixes that, the peace in the Middle East, indicator of the Antichrist. So, two-state solution, meh. That's, you might have figured out by now, I have a biblical worldview. It's a thing. I was ordained as a pastor last year in October, and I've been studying the Bible on camera with y'all for, what, 5 or 6 years now? So, meh. Call me unimpressed about the two-state solution. Just in the last week, the International Court of Justice, the top United Nations court, made an emergency ruling which formally ordered Israel, the nation state, to cease its offensive in Rafah. While the ruling is, quote, legally binding, there is no real way to enforce it. For example, the court issued a similar order for Russia to cease its invasion in Ukraine in 2022. So clearly this court has a lot of horsepower, because Russia totally stopped their special military operation in Ukraine because the International Court of Justice said so, right? Oh, wait, no, they didn't. Israel's National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, posted this response on social media platform X. Quote, the order of the anti-Semitic court, oh, there it is, there it is. Anytime you criticize the nation state of Israel, very clearly these people must be anti-Semites, which is interesting because Sem comes from Shem, who was one of Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Shem was supposed to receive as his inheritance Canaan, the promised land. But his brother Shem was a total D-bag, who's a real jerk. I'm sorry, Ham. Ham took Shem's inheritance. See, the Philistines are descended from Ham. Cush and Put and Canaan and Lud were the 4 sons of Ham. And they went into the promised land, where Shem was forced to wander, and he settled in areas like northern Africa and Syria and etc. Aram, our father, was a wandering Aramaean. Maybe you're familiar with that statement because you actually read your Bible. Maybe you're not, in which case you should start reading your Bible. So Shem and Ham haven't gotten along forever and a day. Shem is the descendants of Shem is where we get the Semites, which is anti-Semitic. The Semitic people are not just the Jews, just so we're all on the same page here again. There were 12 tribes in Israel. Israel was a guy previously named Jacob, and he had 12 sons. You know, like Manasseh and Ephraim were actually his grandsons out of Joseph, but Gad and Issachar and Asher and Zebulun and Naphtali and Benjamin and Levi, or Levi if you're Jewish, etc. And then Judah, the Yehudim, the Jews. So one of the things that the Yehudim have done over the last 2,000-ish years or so is really buckled down on the concept of they are the chosen people of the Most High, and they are the only descendants of Jacob, of Jacob, of Israel. It's not true. It's not it's not even biblically true. There were 11 other sons in the family, bro. Well, where are they? They're scattered in the diaspora. Yeah, what do you think the parable of the prodigal son is about, bro? What yeah, exactly. Where are the other 11 tribes? Newsflash, you're one of them. I'm one of them. Probably Ephraim, but that's a different rabbit hole. My point is, anything that's against the Yehudim, the Jews, or the nation state of Israel is instantly labeled as anti-Semitic. What's funny is the modern nation state of Israel, founded in 1947 by the Zionist movement, is a secular country. There's not a single word about the creator of the universe in their founding documents. So they've turned being Semitic into a genetic thing, not a faith-based inheritance thing. Which is interesting because Messiah himself says not to waste your time on useless genealogies. And it's funny how the evangelical Christian movement has adopted this belief that they have to steward the nation state of Israel half a world away, when the people who comprise the nation state of Israel, A, don't respect them at all, B, rejected Messiah, C, aren't even believers generally speaking themselves. That doesn't mean that there aren't some devout Jews there. There are, and I have a special place in my heart for elder brother Judah, those people of the faith, because I understand biblically that at the end of an age there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. When we see Messiah coming a second time, they will see him coming the first time. But we shouldn't overlook the fact that the nation state of Israel is not founded on any biblical principles and doesn't even acknowledge the creator in their founding documents. So this whole anti-Semite thing, it's like when two kids are in a fight and one of them's constantly crying for mom, even though they started the shit that they're in a fight with in the first place. It's just played out. That's all I'm saying. Now, all that being said, I still believe that Israel has a right to defend their people and their borders. And the October 7th attack by Hamas, regardless of who started it first, was pretty damn bad. And Israel has a right to defend herself. The IDF has a right to fight back against Hamas. Hamas is an internationally recognized terrorist organization known to be supported by Iran. These are all facts to the extent that we can call anything a fact in 2024 anyway. They have a right to defend themselves. They don't have a right to cry anti-Semitism every time somebody criticizes them. Okay? Okay. Let's see. Back to Israel's National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, posted this response on social media platform X, quote, "The order of the anti-Semitic court in The Hague should have only one answer: the occupation of Rafah, the increase of military pressure, and the crushing of Hamas until the complete victory in war is achieved." There's also, I hate to be that guy, I hate to be that guy, but if you've read your Bible, particularly anything from the thin blank page in between Second Chronicles and Matthew chapter 1, anything before that thin blank page, especially if you've read First Kings, Second Kings, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, this whole concept of Israel, if you're going to call yourself that, which is an affront to the creator of the universe in the first place, but if you're going to call yourself that, when Israel goes to war without the Father's blessing, it doesn't go well for them. Just saying, if you read the history of the Father's chosen people, First Kings, Second Kings, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, whenever they go to war without the approval of the Most High, they get their asses beat. Something to think about. Shifting gears. In Taiwan, thousands have protested outside the parliament after reforms were passed on Tuesday that appear to reduce presidential powers. The chaos was also inside the chamber, with arguments and pushing matches breaking out across the floor. Pushing matches. This is how I thought you were all a bunch of ninjas, man. Like, Jeet Kune Do and judo and karate and taekwondo, and like you should be like bow staves and nunchucks flying all over place. No, they're just pushing each other. Whatever. As a reminder, Taiwan just swore in its new president, William Lai Ching-te. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The controversial legislation requires the president to answer questions from lawmakers. Well, that sounds very controversial. And provide Parliament with regular reports. Give more fiscal and informational control to the legislature. Okay. It also formally criminalizes the contempt of Parliament by government officials. The party that pushed for this legislation is widely regarded as being pro-Beijing, aka Chinese sympathizers, though they have denied it. Well, if they've denied it, then clearly that can't be the case, right? Good morning to everybody in the chat, by the way. I see the chat's just flying by over here. It is We All Gonna Die Wednesday. Probably not this Wednesday, though, if I had to take a bet. I'm going to say 9 out of 10. Not today, homies. Not today. Waffles in the chat. What's up? Andy Barnes in the chat. Shalom, everybody. Seen the Blue Ranches. Good job. It's turbo time. God, family, country, and bear. I am honored to be included in that turbo time. Shall we continue? The ninjas over in Taiwan, or lack thereof. This pro-China change comes just after the massive military demonstration from China, which surrounded the island nation of Taiwan. As that activity slows, the Ministry of National Defense noted the detection of 3 Chinese warplanes and 11 naval and coast guard ships on Tuesday. That would have been yesterday. One protester, Zhang Honggung, told reporters, quote, Taiwanese are not afraid of enemies from the outside, but we are worried about our internal enemies, end quote. Ooh, foreshadowing, suspicious. Dun, dun, dun. Have you heard of the United States Navy's proposed replicator program? It's interesting. Muy interesante, I believe they would say in the Espanol. I'll have to ask Ren when I see him. Replicator program. The idea is to use thousands of, what do they call them? Basically, maritime drones, autonomous maritime drones in the ocean around Taiwan and in the South China Sea, that whenever a Chinese warship gets too close to Taiwan, United States naval autonomous maritime drones via the replicator program could interdict said Chinese warship. So essentially, they'd be like kamikaze drones that are in the water, like little mini submersible things that are all like hive mind swarming through the South China Sea at the control, allegedly, of the U.S. Navy, that when an enemy ship gets too close to a protectorate of the United States, the replicator drones swarm the ship and blow it up. Very interesting concept. Y'all remember World War I? There's this guy, Archduke Francis Ferdinand, not just the band, Franz Ferdinand. Yeah, he got capped. And then people were angry about that. And this little war erupted over in Europe. And then the United States was like, that's your problem, not our problem. We ain't sending our boys over there to die in the trenches in France. And then somebody was like, oh, yeah, watch this. The sinking of the Lusitania. Remember that? How about another one? The Gulf of Tonkin incident, Vietnam War. That there's strong supporting evidence that that may have never actually happened in the first place. Yeah, casus belli, black swan event, the reason to get us engaged in warfare. Just makes me wonder, right? Because the big they seem to be pretty bad at coming up with new plays for their playbook. What happens if, say, China replicates the replicator maritime drone system and takes out one of our ships? Let's make it interesting. Maybe it's an ExxonMobil tanker, you know, because the United States runs on oil, the petrodollar. Hypothetically, do we go to war now? Is that the thing that gets us all engaged in warfare? Do we need another 9/11-esque type event to point the entire of the U.S. economy and the entire of the U.S. populace towards the bad guys over there yet again? Saying this whole autonomous sinking of ships sounds a lot like German U-boats of yesteryear. Just throwing that out there. It's almost like either they're very aware of the patterns and they embrace it and they just keep doing the same types of things roughly every 80 years or so, or they're oblivious to the patterns and they just keep falling into these patterns because human beings only behave in certain ways. I don't know. From Russia Today, RT. This is fun. Now, YouTube, before you censor me, I'm reading an article from Russian propaganda website, russiatoday.com. So the words that I'm reading that you will flag me for as misinformation come from a Russian article at rt.com. Okay? Okay, Bear. Cool. Trump tells donors he'd bomb Moscow and Beijing, according to the Washington Post. The ex-president detailed how he would have responded while in office to Russia's conflict with Ukraine. Former U.S. President and here's why I'm bringing this up, because the talking points at the end of the article are interesting. Former U.S. President and current Republican candidate Donald Trump has told campaign donors that he would, quote, would have bombed Moscow and Beijing if they attacked Ukraine and Taiwan respectively on his watch. The Washington Post reported on Tuesday, citing sources which are unnamed. What's up, Buckets and Bibles? By the way, there's something to be said that under the Trump administration, now, and mind you, for everybody who may be confused on this fact, Trump is not the Messiah, okay? He's not the Messiah. You don't need to worship him. You don't need to anoint his head with oil. Do not expect him to ride into Jerusalem on a donkey. He's a man from New York who has done business the majority of his life and was the president once and might be again. But he's not God incarnate. So please don't worship him. If anything, respect him at a distance, if he even has respectable attributes. And that's for you to decide, not for me to tell you. Because frankly, for me, it's kind of like hold your nose and pull the lever with this dude. Although economy, way better economy under Trump than under Bidenomics. Just facts. So, Mr. Not the Messiah, Donald Trump, according to numerous donors, advisors, and other people close to him, the former president has ramped up his fundraising campaign rhetoric ahead of his likely rematch with incumbent Joe Biden in the upcoming November election. Now, I don't think Joe Biden's going to make it to November. I don't think Joe Biden knows what room he's in right now. And that's not hyperbole. I think that is an old man with Alzheimer's who also, coincidentally, happens to have been in politics for 50 years and also happens to be a corrupt piece of shit and also happens to be a pedophile. I'm sure these are all coincidences. But that man, whom I have zero sympathy for, is an old man that needs to be in a nursing home and or a wood chipper, one or the other, preferably the latter. But I digress. I don't think Biden's going to make it to November. I think the Democratic Party is going to be forced to pull Biden because his gaffes are becoming undeniable. He literally doesn't know what room he's in. And Kamala Harris is wildly unpopular that they can't run her either, which leaves who? The Obamas. Well, Barack, who's probably running this presidential he's probably running the Biden administration from behind the scenes, honestly. Because he's on record as saying, well, I wouldn't mind running for a third term as long as, I could sit in a basement somewhere and just tell people what to do. We can't run Barack because he's already been elected president twice, unless they just throw all the rules out the window, which is possible. So who does that leave? Big Mike. That's right. Big Mike. I could see y'all in the chat. Who said it first? JS Genesis Designs and Red Big Mike. That's right. Michael Obama. Who's Michael Obama? That would be the legal name of Michelle Obama before the multiple surgeries due to gender dysphoria, which is a mental issue, not a sexual orientation. Oh, can you say that on YouTube? I don't care. Did you know apparently I'm also on Rumble? Monica puts these on Rumble every day. And when everybody's like, Barry, you should go on a different platform. Yeah, I have more patrons than I have people following me on Rumble. Yeah. It's really encouraging when you go look on Rumble and it's like, wow, that video got 480 views. Whatever. So Big Mike, I don't think they're going to be able to run Biden in November because he's a walking, talking shit show, literally. And I'm not entirely convinced that a lot of the media we see with Biden is legit. I mean, haven't you seen some of the CGI stuff? He's standing there talking to the camera and there's like vehicles disappearing behind him or birds flying into nothing, or like the bottom corner of the screen, like the different layers in the image don't add up and there's like part of a car here but not part of a car over there. Like it's all CGI. It's like smoke and mirrors, bro. So Big Mike 2024 question mark. I mean, what is Big Mike going to campaign on? Probably the usual libtard stuff. But maybe Big Mike comes out as like a hardcore fiscal conservative, right? Clearly not social conservative. I mean, she's got junk and an Adam's apple, but great triceps. Remember that? Was it Ellen DeGeneres who was like, because Ellen's a lesbian, right? It was like fawning over, which is funny. Ellen, the lesbian, was attracted to Big Mike, who's a cross-dressing man. How does that, on our bingo card of libtardness, how does that line up? I don't know. I don't get it. Whatever. Also, I don't know why y'all let your children watch this show, but that's on you. It's not on me. But I digress. Big Mike 2024. Trump, who regularly addresses foreign policy topics at such events, reportedly claimed that he would have bombed the Russian capital in response to its Ukraine campaign and prescribed the same response to a hypothetical Chinese move to assert its sovereignty over Taiwan. These remarks surprised his donors, according to the Washington Post. Former President Trump has also said to have made, quote, a series of audacious requests, end quote, to solicit significant campaign contributions at funding events, as he has reportedly promised tax cuts, approvals for oil infrastructure projects, and other policies that his donors might appreciate. Now, color me stupid, but that doesn't sound like a series of audacious requests to me. Tax cuts? Check, I'm into it. Approval for oil infrastructure projects? Check, I'm into it. Some legal experts interviewed by the Washington Post define legal expert and define interview. Noted that such promises and requests are, quote, testing the boundaries of federal campaign finance laws. And that is the one sentence in the article that I found interesting. This dude has spent his entire life without a single charge or allegation. Becomes president, and all of a sudden he's facing, what, 80-some different charges in multiple different states? Because the deep state, which is a real thing, unelected bureaucrats that operate the federal government, and the liberals don't like this guy. So because they don't like this guy, he's dangerous to them, dangerous to the status quo. And there's even an argument to be made that he's just a counterpoint to the status quo that was put up by those people because he was a lifelong Democrat, right? So maybe he's a convenient fall guy, but I digress. I don't know. But all of a sudden, after, 60 years of doing business in the United States, 0 charges, but all of a sudden, guys got 80 plus charges. Track it. Now, turns out, coincidentally, all of those charges are bullshit. But could this be the Washington Post now laying grounds for testing the boundaries of federal campaign finance laws because of promises that this dude, or implied promises that this dude made at his rallies. I don't know. I'm not even going to read the rest of the article, but I just wanted to bring that up to y'all. Noob Adventures, what's up, man? Shalom. MC Uper, Dylan Carson, Texas Sheep Lady, let's go. He'll run as the first trans. Gosh, I hope not. Gosh, I hope not. No Big Mike. Zero Big Mike. Mary Negri, my daughter just got mail from the VA. She's a Marine vet and will be losing her medical because she made a little bit too much last year. Anyone hear about that? I would appeal that. Although the VA has no money because what's it like? 1/3 of all US dollars in circulation have been printed up in the last 3 years. It's fine though. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. You don't need to like strategically relocate to the country and find some homies and raise your own food and possess firearms so that you can maintain a comfortable distance from tyranny. Everything's fine. We got plenty of time. It'll be fine. Donald Trump will win the 2024 election. Everything will go back in time to the way that it was prior to 2020, and everything will be fine because everybody knows historically that we can rewind time and make things normal again because that's happened over and over and over again throughout the cycle of the world. So it'll be fine. There's no reason to prep. There's no reason to be concerned. There's no reason to be converting fiat currency into hard assets. I'll make a confession to y'all. I am cash poor, asset rich right now. And I am okay with that because I have bought even more land. I am building a house to put my family in, whom I love. And I just acquired 2 more wells. Is it 2?
Yeah.
2 more wells. 2 more wells. And I still have a 1-ton truck that I need to fix. And I don't have a ton of money. I don't have a ton of money. But I got a bunch of assets. Like a bunch of assets. And I'm good with that. Because the dollar is make-believe. We all know it's make-believe. And so if you could just shift your mindset, almost like a video game. If I can get enough of this pretend money, these pretend credits, and trade it for something real and tangible, because like land is real. I can walk on it. I can develop it. I can cut timber off of it, right? The house is tangible. I can touch it. It's there. So if I can trade pretend money for real assets, why wouldn't I do that? Oh, well, the dollar's inflated. Okay, so it takes more pretend money now than it did a few years ago. Yes, that's demoralizing. Yes, that's a pain in the ass. It's still 10 times out of 10, especially when the dollar's devalued due to inflation, worth acquiring assets with. And because, now let's go strategic level thinking. Because a lot of people right now are highly leveraged and don't have enough pretend money, they're willing to let their assets go for a relatively low cost because they need the income. They need it. They need more fake money because they're still playing in a fake system that requires fake money instead of having assets that produce. See, when your hamster wheel is made of fake money, the best you can hope for is massive consumption, minor production. When you shift the other direction and you start investing in assets, now I can produce, and I need even less and even less and even less pretend money, even less fiat currency. We've gotten to the point, praise the Most High, where like a consistent problem that I have is too many sheep. Too many sheep. No matter how many I eat, no matter how many I give away, I still have too many sheep. What a problem to have. Oh no, I have too much food. I'll take it. Good to go. Like, I had somebody visiting a couple weeks ago and they were looking at my firewood pile and they were like, dude, you're really on top of it. It's like, I'm not on top of it. Those are just trees that had to come down to build the house. Like, I've got acres and acres and acres that I need to log for firewood. And I will at some point. My point is, if you own assets, you're less reliant on the make-believe money, and what they do, the big day, what they do to the make-believe money affects you less. Because now you can let them play their stupid game over here and acquire some of their monopoly money and then do monopoly stuff, buy properties, buy assets. When you play Monopoly, you don't just go around the board over and over and over again, hoping to collect $200 when you pass go and hoping to stay out of jail. No, you buy assets, you buy properties, you buy utilities. Utilities produce what? Or provide what? Resources. So, like, do that in real life. I know it's hard. Things are expensive. You don't have a lot of money. Cool. I grew up poor, very poor. First business, $700 in assets, $500 pickup truck, $200 chainsaw. Yep. Built that to a 7-figure business in 4 years. How? I busted my ass. Current business, started in my barn with $1,000. Now, on 4 continents. How? Oh, during COVID and under the Biden regime. How would you do that? I busted my ass. Okay, so it's still possible. And I hired good people who care as much about the business as I do. Extra roosters equals food, says Travis Bolt. I know, we've gotten off on a tangent here, and we're burning time. We're 41 minutes in. Asian powerhouse declares intention to join BRICS per RT. Bangkok sees Thailand's future in a multipolar world, the Asian country's government has said. Thailand will apply to become a member of the BRICS economic bloc, the government of Southeast Asian country announced on Tuesday. Where did it go? BRICS has invited non-member countries aspiring to join to take part in the group's summit scheduled for late October in Kazan, Russia. Attending the summit would be an opportunity for Thailand to accelerate the application process. Originally composed of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, BRICS added Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates at the beginning of 2024. Since then, 15 more countries have signaled interest in admission, including Bahrain, Belarus. Wow, Belarus, that's interesting. Would have never guessed that one. Cuba, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Senegal, and Venezuela. That's good. Venezuela doesn't produce oil or anything. The expanded BRICS makes up about 30% of the global economy and a population of around 3.5 billion, or 45% of the world's total. It also accounts for over 40% of the world's oil production. According to the International Monetary Fund, BRICS currently accounts for as much as 36% of global GDP in terms of purchasing power parity, compared to just over 30% for the G7. BRICS aims to overtake the G7 in nominal global GDP over the next 4 years. The head of the New Development Bank, Dilma Rousseff, said in February. So BRICS continues to expand. BRICS is trying to punch above its weight class, makes up 30% of global economy, 45% of the world's total citizens, 40% of the world's oil production, and accounts for 36% of global GDP, which is greater than the G7. And now Thailand is trying to join BRICS as well. Good times. Or bad times. Getting back to that funny money. Also from RT, real quick. Ukraine likely exaggerating military successes, according to Forbes. Ukraine has likely exaggerated the number of Russian warplanes it claims to have shot down, Forbes wrote on Monday. The American Business Magazine analyzed statements made by the Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky and the Defense Ministry and came to the conclusion that not all of them can be independently verified. Well, no shit, it's a war, comma. Kiev claimed that its 110th Mechanized Brigade had shot down 7 Russian Su-25 attack aircraft between 4 May and 25 May. However, only 2 supposed shootdowns were backed by visual evidence. Forbes said, referring to a grainy photo of something burning on the ground and a video that might depict a missile hitting a low-flying jet. The only other visual, air quote, evidence the 110th Mechanized Brigade has offered actually comes from a video game, the magazine said. It argued that, quote, more likely the 110th Mechanized Brigade has shot down at most 2 Russian attack jets in the last month. That's what I wanted to touch on here is, and this is not the first time that this has happened, imagery from video games has been used to substantiate Ukrainian claims of battlefield kills. Not all of them, but in many cases. It's not footage like that somebody shot with a cell phone or with a camera. It's computer generated imagery in a video game that was then released as propaganda to say, look, we shot down a jet. And some people are not astute enough to know the difference. That's the point of that article to me. Now, add in AI, artificial intelligence. You know, it takes as much energy to produce a single AI image as it does to charge your phone from 0 to 100%. Same amount of energy. Which is why all of a sudden, you see the left talking about clean nuclear energy again, because they've realized that renewables can't keep up with the production demands for energy, and that AI, artificial intelligence, is incredibly electricity hungry and electricity dependent. Microsoft is buying nuclear power plants. Yeah. They are investing, what is it, $45 billion over the next several years into AI centers. And AGI, artificial general intelligence, like sentience, essentially, the ability to function with the level of awareness of a human being, define the level of awareness of a human being, because many are unaware, side tangent. But AGI is anticipated to be anywhere between 1 and 21 years away. In other words, the robots are awake. True Skynet for those who have ever watched the Terminator series, all of which is dependent upon the flow of electrons. So now the left is having to backpedal on renewables and claim that nuclear is clean, green, renewable energy. I'm all for nuclear power, personally, but not because the left wants it to exist. But AI is estimated, forecasted to consume 1/3 of all the power produced in the United States of America within the next 10 years. The AI is. And if the computer games, the graphics in the computer games, the video games, are sufficient to the point to currently deceive some human beings, what happens a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, as these things continue to get exponentially better and better? Deepfakes already happening. Talk about co-opting somebody. Like there's somebody in a position of power or influence that you don't want to continue to have that voice or that audience. Just make them do something or say something that goes against their ethos, that alienates their audience, for example, and post that online. Here's a video of Bear saying and doing all these things that he would never say. I can't trust him anymore. Well, it wasn't me that said it. But there's tens of thousands of hours of my voice and my face on the internet. So it wouldn't be that hard. Honestly, there's already that they never said and did already right now using GPT-4. It's only going to get worse, which means at some point, possibly, and I say this tongue in cheek, but I mean it, we might all have to get really Amish really quick, because think about what the false prophet does in the book of Revelation, the signs by which he led them astray. Yeah, false prophet, the signs by which he led them astray. There may come a time where we are forced to eschew these rectangles, because what is being piped through these rectangles is legitimately nothing but propaganda, and it cannot be believed. How close we are to that, I don't know yet. But I can see the writing on the wall. Because Ukraine is using video game footage to substantiate kills on Russian Su-25 fighter jets, and some people are fooled by that right now. And it's only going to get worse, folks. Lastly, your tax dollars at work from the blaze. The Biden administration's pier to aid Gaza now can't operate at all. We talked about this on Wednesday. 4 ships washed ashore on they detached from the pier and then floated away. Speaking of floating away, the temporary U.S. pier that was built to help facilitate more aid into the Gaza Strip has been plagued with one round of bad news after another. Now it's being reported that aid operations from the pier have been suspended because of rough seas causing damage to the pier. The Associated Press reported, that's great, the AP, very trustworthy, that the Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh announced on Tuesday that the pier will be pulled out and sent to the southern Israel city of Ashdod, where U.S. Central Command will repair it. Singh says the fixes will take at least over a week. And then the pier will need to be anchored back into the beach in Gaza. The rough seas also caused one of the boats that are used to ferry aid between ships to the pier to become beached. Yeah, it's actually 4. And it goes on from here. So not only was a couple days ago 4 boats detached from the pier and just floated away, now the pier detached from the pier, and the pier was floating away and got damaged, and now they got to take the pier somewhere else and fix it and then try and put it back there again. Now, I've heard other reporting on this issue mentioning that the seas are very rough there, and there's underwater currents there that are very tricky, and that's the reason that there's no pier there in the first place, and that at some point it was discussed potentially putting like a barrier reef, man-made barrier reef along the coast there to create a bay with calm waters in it so that a pier could be built. But it's been understood apparently for centuries, if not millennia, that you can't dock ships there because the currents will destroy it. But our fearless leader, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., Ice Cream Grandpa, he of the hair sniffery, has decided, no, we're the United States. We can put a pier there. It's not working out so great. And the good news is it only cost you $320 million. That's all. Just $320 million. Everything will be fine. Don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. What's up, Striker Cade? What's up, JS Badger? That's the show for today. Listen, all the links are in the description down below on Patreon and on YouTube. And the doobly-doo down below on Patreon today is a video called Filtering Pool Water. And so if you've ever purchased a pool or looked at a pool and thought, hey, man, that's a bunch of water that could be useful in SHTF, but questioned how might I turn this water full of either salt or pool chemicals into drinkable water, the answer to that question is on Patreon, link in the description. Now, Patreon does cost $10 per month, but unlike OnlyFans, I keep my clothes on and I answer your questions. You ask the questions, I give you the answers. There's more than 5,000 posts archived there. So you'll probably, if you have a question, you use the Patreon search bar, you'll probably find at least one video, if not several or dozens, when it comes to things like mutual assistance groups, communication, forming a MAG, strategic relocation, food prepping, etc. Dozens of videos and posts and write-ups on Patreon. And so when you spend that $10, you not only get the exclusive videos that I'm going to put out this month, next month, so forth and so far going forward, but everything we've already done on Patreon as well. So link is in the description. Refuge Medical. We have a promo code going right now, PREP, P-R-E-P, like prepare, prep. It gets you 15% off. That is going away at sundown on Friday. PREP is going away sundown Friday. So if you need to get some stuff, now's the time to do it. All of our kits and our components are HSA and FSA eligible. Health savings account, flexible savings account eligible. Non-medical items, training. Trust me, I've tried. Training is not covered by HSA or FSA. Patches, stickers, swag, books, not covered by HSA or FSA. That's because the insurance companies have decided that that's the case, not because I made it that way. But kits and components are HSA, FSA eligible. And look at this. What's that? That's the new travel kit. This is the new travel kit. Looks a lot like the OpFac, except it's red with reflective striping. And it can be mounted to your headrest. And it has an orange cat tourniquet on the top, right there. Legit North American Rescue real cat tourniquet. It's got a pen light and a Sharpie on the outside. And if I need this in emergency, I pull the inner out of the outer. I pop the inner open, and I got all my stuff, all of it in here, ready to go. Oh, I see a Slishman device, which is a great pediatric tourniquet. 2 pairs of gloves. I see a flat pressure bandage. I see a Mylar blanket. I see compressed gauze for wound packing. I see a set of shears. Listen, are you listening? That's what real shears sound like. They will like actually cut through clothing when I need them to. Not that we're made in China by the lowest bidder. What else is in here? I've got my OTC meds. I've got my boo-boo wipes. I've got my Band-Aid bag right here. I've got flat duct tape. I've got a burn dressing, petrolatum gauze, and I've got a pair of Halo chest seals. This is designed to go in your vehicle, in your Vic. That if you have an accident or you're at the park with your kids and one of them falls off of the slide or whatever, you have a first aid kit with you mounted to your headrest. If you're the driver, I like to put mine behind the passenger headrest so I can reach over and grab it if I need it. Why? Well, a lot of people get into car wrecks, and a lot of those people, when they get into car wrecks, become what's called impinged, aka the dashboard comes back and pins their legs and they can't get out. Recently, had some of our refuge team respond to somebody who was trapped in their vehicle impinged. If you have a broken femur and you're leaking from your femoral artery, it's good to be able to lay your hands on a first aid kit when something like that happens so you can apply a tourniquet for self-aid and not die. Yeah, it's a thing. And I realize that we take things a little seriously here when it comes to first aid kits. I'll be honest with you. The boo-boo stuff, I'm not great at. It's not on the top of my mind. Why? Because the way I grew up was like you get a roll of electrical tape and you have infinity Band-Aids, right? I'm not great at the boo-boo stuff. Getting better at it. I have other people on my team that are good at it that are making me better at boo-boo stuff. I'm in the critical bleed department. How do we fix this problem right now before somebody dies? That's what this is about. Now, it does have boo-boo stuff in it, but it's also got your tourniquets, your pressure bandages, your wound packing gauze, your Mylar blankets, your chest seals, so you can deal with massive bleeding, airway, and respiratory issues with this kit, as well as the boo-boo stuff, as well as the Susie fell off of her bike again stuff. Okay. Striker Kate, if you're not EDCing a chest seal, you're doing it wrong. Let's talk about that. So this is the travel fact. This is at the store at refugemedical.com. You can use promo code PREP to get your hands on one of these. And if you're a tactical cool guy and you need one that looks like that, but it's in cool guy colors, you can get the OpFac as well. Now, this may take you by surprise, but we make these. They're not made for us by Alibaba or somebody in the Jinhao province of China. We make them here in America with American people, not in a sweatshop, fact, we have air conditioners. And because we make them here in America, we also guarantee them forever. And if you use the components of this kit to save somebody's life, I will replace them at no cost to you forever. We have some people in the Bear Nation, maybe in this chat, who have rendered aid and saved lives with their refuge kits multiple times, 2, 3, 4 times. We've got a couple different people on our 122 lives saved. We've got a couple different people that are responsible for 2 or more of those saves. Why? I don't know. The Father just keeps putting them in places where they're needed to save people's lives with refuge medical kits. That's super cool. If you are one of those people, if that happens, whatever you use, up to and including the entire kit, I will replace it, no cost to you. Done it 122 times. Now, Striker Cade said, if you're not EDCing chest seals, you're doing it wrong. You guys ready? You guys ready for this? Boom. What's that? What is that? That is a leg. This is a boot. That is the ankle kit. I recently put a little poll out on Patreon. I said, hey, now that we have a sew shop, what do you want to see us make? And several people said, you should make an ankle kit. Hey, guys, this is the ankle kit. We've had it for months. It exists. So what's in here? Well, this is a 14 gauge, 3 3/4 inch catheter for needle decompression. In here, in this little pocket, is a soft T tourniquet and a Sharpie. In this little pocket over here, we rip that open. I've got flat duct tape, combat gauze, and compressed gauze, and a pair of gloves for wound packing. Gauze and hemostatic gauze for wound packing. And then in this little pocket right here, I have, to Striker Cade's point, I have a little bag of Band-Aids. Now, I added this because, like I said, I'm bad at boo-boo stuff. And so I added a few Band-Aids, an S-mark bandage, which can be used as a pediatric tourniquet or a pressure bandage, one 5x9 piece of gauze, and a pair of chest seals. And for everybody who says, you shouldn't fold those, you'll break them, that tells me you've never opened a package of chest seals before, ever in your entire life. How can I say that confidently? Because the chest seals are folded up inside of the factory packaging when you get them anyway. So we have an ankle kit and it has chest seals in it. You might check that out. And the one thing that differentiates our ankle kit from everybody else's, look at the screen. Look at the screen. Are you watching? Watch this. See that? Not only can you use it as a yoga band, so you can get your reps in for the day when you're sitting at your desk under the fluorescent lights doing nothing. It stretches, it flexes, which means you can wear this all day and not feel it at all. And by the way, this weighs, as shown, 15 ounces, less than a pound, less than 1 AR magazine, fully loaded. And how do I know it's durable? This is the first one ever. I've been wearing this one around for half a year. This is the first one ever, and that's what it looks like. After grindstone deployments, after homesteading, after rucking through the mud, water crossings, all the things, after the refuge ruckus, this is 6 months of wear and tear. That's what it looks like. And if for some reason it did fall apart, we guarantee our stuff forever. So, refugemedical.com, promo code PREP. Promo code PREP is going away Friday at sundown. So if you want to take advantage of that code, use it. And that code works on kits, components, and classes. And there are training classes in the store as well. What else? Oh, and the Mother's Day giveaway is going on as well. So all orders over $149 automatically entered to win an entire Joseph's Kitchen setup. The wheat, the grinder, the bread machine, the oil, the honey, the everything, the cutting board, all of it. A KitchenAid stand mixer, and refuge medical kits for your house and your vehicle. All orders over $149 automatically entered, and a chance to win that. GrindstoneMinistries.com. If you need a copy of the Bible, you don't have one, you can go to GrindstoneMinistries.com. You can buy it at my cost from me. We're not trying to earn any money on that. Or I'll send you one for free if you don't have any money. No questions asked. Don't worry about it. GrindstoneMinistries.com. And if you want to support our disaster relief efforts, GrindstoneMinistries.com. If you want to deploy with us the next time we do disaster relief, sign up for the email newsletter at GrindstoneMinistries.com. Caleb House, Caleb with a K, CalebHouse.org. I was at Caleb House yesterday doing some saw work and some dirt work with the dozer. It was awesome. It happened pretty quick. I was very fortunate. The Father was with me, and I was able to get done everything I needed to get done in like 2 hours, which was awesome. And so construction is ongoing at Caleb with a K, CalebHouse.org, which you may be asking, what is Caleb House? Caleb House is our juvenile restoration facility for human trafficking victims, kiddos that have had terrible things done to them. It's the place where we put them back together again. So not only in the anti-human trafficking space are we involved on the rescue side, we're also involved on the restoration side. We have teams in the field getting stuff done, making bad stuff happen to bad people and rescuing the good ones. I was fortunate to spend some time with one of those teams last night, and all I can tell you is they're awesome. They are great people, and they're very good at what they do. And the Father has blessed me with having those people in our organization. Very competent, committed, great attitude. Heart is in the right place. It's just phenomenal. And so we are active working with law enforcement on the rescue side, but our primary focus is restoration. What do we do with these kids after they've been rescued? That's where Caleb House comes in. That's our restoration facility. We are about 20% funded on the construction of that restoration facility, and we're all privately funded. I don't take a dime from the government because I don't want the government to tell me what I can and can't do on our privately owned property. Simple as that. So we're privately funded by people like y'all. So if the Spirit convicts you, CalebHouse.org, Caleb with a K. If you want to learn more about what we do, or if you'd like to participate in online giving, you can do that at CalebHouse.org. So that's what I got for today. We're going to pray, and then I got to go. You doing okay over there? I see a munchkin. Good morning, Father. Yeah. Father, thank you for letting us wake up today. Father, thank you for the atoning sacrifice of your Son, that we might be made new and be able to return like the prodigal son to our Father's house and experience myriad provisions and blessings. Father, thank you for the conviction of your Ruach HaKodesh to serve your kingdom here on earth, to be your hands and feet to the best of our ability. Father, to walk in righteousness in the model of Messiah to the best of our ability. Thank you for loving us enough to redeem us and trusting us with dominion and stewardship over this place that you made for us. Father, thank you for all the things that we take for granted. Please help us remember to not take them for granted. Father, help us stay vertically aligned and in tune with you rather than distracted by the world. Please give us strength and power and authority in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Pour out your Spirit on all flesh for wisdom and discernment, to put us in the right place at the right time, with the right people, with the right words and the right actions, to bring glory to you and let our light shine before men. Father, give us peace that surpasses all understanding that we might remember and dwell in the fact that you are sovereign over all things. That we might not know precisely what's going on down here, but that you do. And none of these things surprise you, whether they be macro or micro, and that you are sovereign over all things. Father, put a hedge around these people. Let no weapon formed against them prosper. And be there anything within the sound of my voice that is not of you, we come together in agreement and rebuke it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach and command it to destroy itself. Father, please keep us filled up. Thank you for the opportunity to do life with you. Father, please bless these people, provide for these people, and protect them today. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Y'all have a blessed day. I will see you when I see you. Boom.